Okay, this is the second part of the question about our commuters from Devon. This is the midpoint of each class was represented by x and its corresponding frequency by f. The midpoint of the lower class was taken to be 4.75. Remember in the question, it was from 0 to 9.5. Okay, now they give us a sum of fx and they give us a sum of fx squared. Now we're asked to estimate the mean and the standard deviation distribution using the statistics given. So we don't have to go back and recalculate. We've been given these stats. Right, so now we've got that, we know that the mean for x bar, is equal to sum of fx over the sum of f, okay, or n. Right, so we're given this 3552.5, and we know it's 120 because that was the cumulative frequency for the data beginning. So all we have to do is divide those, we get 29.6 1 dB, right? So that's our mean. Okay, now we need our standard deviation. We know the standard deviation is the square root of sum of fx squared, which we were given. Let's write the formula anyway. Fx squared over the sum of f. We subtract from that our mean squared. We've already calculated that. Right, so the square root of 138,043.125. Divide that by our 120, and we subtract from that our 29.6 squared. Okay, the square root of the whole thing. And that gives me a standard deviation of 16.55 to decimal places. So that's my standard deviation. Okay, now it says explain why the median is less than the mean for these data. So from the first part of the question, we calculated that the median was equal to 26.7 miles. So that's the median distance travelled. And we just calculated the mean, which is 29.6 miles. Okay, explain why this is the case. Well, we have to give a reasonable explanation. Okay, we can talk about the distribution. Okay, so basically, the collection of information. We can talk about it being skewed positively. Okay, or we can just say that it's distorted by a few large values or distances. Okay, because there's a few people who travel a lot further. We said the midpoint in the first group is 4.75 miles, but there are some people who travel 80 to 89. Okay, so those are going to basically distort our distribution and make the mean larger, whereas the median picks the middle person and that's taken out. Right, now we're on to D. For a second sample of 120 commuters travelling to work from a train station in Greater London. Right, now this is where some misunderstanding happened. Okay, the first sample that we worked the data out for, they are travelling from Devon. We are now given a second sample and some stats about that second sample. And these are people travelling from Greater London, so basically outer London. Okay, so they are not the same sample and they're not from the same place. Right, now, it tells us the mean distance to work. So we've got the mean. Okay, and that's 15.6. Whereas the mean for Devon, we just calculated, was 29.6. Okay, the standard deviation is 21.2. So the standard deviation is 21.2. Okay, the standard deviation for Devon we calculated was 16.55. Now we're asked to compare the measures of location, which is our average, and the spread, which is going to be our standard deviation, giving possible reasons for any answers. Now there are 4 marks available here. So first mark, let's compare the means. Okay, so the mean for Devon is higher. Okay, include the figures because That's the whole point of statistics. We've got numbers, not opinion. We're using numbers. Okay, that's going to get us a mark. Okay, let's compare the distribution. Okay, so the people traveling from London have a higher spread, a larger spread. Okay, so that's going to get us a mark. Now we need reasons. Why might the people from Devon be traveling further? It's the countryside. Okay, population density much lower. People live further away from where they work. There's a mark. Okay, how about for London? Well, some people live quite close to the city. Some people live on the outskirts. That's going to basically end up with a much higher standard deviation, because some people will literally live half a mile away. Some people will live 20 miles away. Whereas in Devon, everyone lives a fair distance from where they work. So there you go, reasons. But be really careful. You really have to read this question carefully, okay, and identify the fact that you've got two different samples from two different locations.